Okay. Think I'm good. It's technology. All right, I think that's it. So, welcome back to another Facebook Live yoga class. Hope you're having a lovely week. Hope you're having a really nice Tuesday so far as well. Sun is shining, great day. I thought today we would have a look at 3 postures. Marichyasana A, B and C. So they come towards sort of, I don't know, the middle end of the Ashtanga sequence, and they're part of the seated sequence in Ashtanga. Now there is a Marichyasana D. We aren't going to be looking at that today. There is also a Marichyasana A, B, C, D, E, F and G, I think, as well. Definitely not going to be looking at those today. But I just want to make you aware that it doesn't stop after these postures, that there are more in the family. So if you want to go and check those out for yourself, you can. Just Google some of them and they're mind-blowing. But for today, we're just going to focus on A, B and C. And A and B and C, they're all binds, first of all. So they involve us wrapping the arms around the body and trying to catch the fingertips or the wrists eventually. And hip openers as well, especially B, requires a lot of the hips and as a result also the knees. So if you've got tight hips, sometimes these postures can feel a little bit knee-y. So as well as working a lot of binds today, we are going to be working a lot of hip opening postures. And C is quite a deep twist. So hips, twists, binds, there's a lot going on today. We're also going to be working into the shoulders. So while there's a lot going on in these postures, I think shoulders get forgotten quite a lot, because all these binds really involve us rotating the shoulder forward so that we can bend the elbows back. And if your shoulder is tight, that forward roll can be really tricky for some people to get. These are complicated postures. I also want to just throw this out right at the beginning. I'm dedicating this class to the King of Binds, Julian Martin, who comes to yoga at Believe on a Sunday. So if he does this, which I hope he does, because he needs to work on his binds, then shout out to you, Julian. This class is in honour of you and your binding prowess. That being said, I think we're just going to start. So if you have tight hips, you may want to keep a strap handy. So we will, you may need it for the first posture, but maybe not. And we'll work our way up. We'll start quite gently, then we'll build up gradually to some more complicated postures. I'm a little bit worried about my tripod today. Kind of feel like it's going to fall. If my tripod falls over, we're just going to roll with it. And then if you have any injuries, please check with your doctor before doing this class. As always, you are your own best teacher. If something does not feel right, do not do it. If something I say doesn't resonate with you, please just ignore me. I don't know best, you know your body best. Right, let's start then. Let's start on our backs. So we're going to start how we always start. Checking in with the body, checking in with the breath. Just really important to build a solid foundation before we start bending the body in all these shapes. So coming down onto your back. For today, it's going to be quite helpful if you can bring the soles of the feet together and let the knees fall out sideways. So coming into a posture called reclined bound angle. A really lovely passive stretch across the pelvis. Starting to gently open up into the hips, the groin, inner thigh area. But if this isn't comfortable, then you can have the legs straight, you can bend the knees, all right? So just finding a position you can be still in for a few moments. If the knees are apart, you can rest the hands gently on the inner thighs, but important to note, we aren't pushing the legs down, we're not pushing the knees to the floor, just adding a gentle bit of pressure there. And if your legs are straight, hands on belly, hands either side of the body, palms up, very much up to you. Just close your eyes when you're in that position. Start to take a couple of deeper breaths, and we'll begin by just bringing the attention into the room. So trying to tune out any distractions, and there are a lot of them at the moment. Seeing if for this 1 hour we can focus on what's going on our mat. Building that focus, building that discipline. Okay, so just start to make the inhales and exhales equal in length, as equal as you can get them. Bring in a slow, steady rhythm to the breath, but one that you can maintain, so at no point do you ever want to feel like you're running out of breath. And so I always say it's not a breathing competition, so some people like to think it is, but it's not. So just find a comfortable rhythm. Breathe in through the nose if possible, and also moving the breath up into the chest is going to be quite important today to get that breath a little bit higher, especially with the twists and binds we're going to be doing. Really tricky to twist from the belly and breathe into the belly at the same time. So moving the breath up into the chest, feeling the rib cage rise and fall. And the breath really important with some of the deeper twists we do. So the inhale creates space and the exhale moves us into that space. So the inhale often is a chance for us to find a bit more length in a posture. Okay, and then from here just take your attention around the body, check in, see how you feel. If there's any areas of tension you need to be mindful of, injuries you just need to keep in your mind. So never pushing past pain. And while some of the postures might feel quite intense, we don't want to feel that sharp or shooting sensation. And because the postures we're doing today, a lot of them are going to be hip openers, you really do need to be quite mindful of your knees. Okay, lovely. And then we're just going to begin. Like I said, we'll take it quite gently to begin with. So as you inhale, if your knees are apart, slowly bring your knees together. And then we're all going to take a cat stretch. So point the toes down the mat, arms overhead, lengthen. Make yourself as long as you possibly can. Really pointing the toes, lifting the arms, feeling that full body stretch. Hands to feet. May even feel an arch lift in your lower spine. And then exhale, just hug the knees into the chest, rock from side to side and make circles. So as well as being twists, hip openers, binds and all that sort of stuff, these postures, at least A and B anyway, are also forward folds. So we need to wake up the lower back, release the tension there. And then take both feet to the floor. So we're going to start with quite a gentle hip opener and twist. So we're going to leave the left knee bent, left foot on the floor. We're going to cross the right foot over the left thigh. Now this is a hip opener in itself. You might want to stay here if this is deep enough for you. Otherwise, on your next inhale, you're going to pick the left foot up off the floor and then interlace your hands around the back of the left thigh. Now if for whatever reason this isn't comfortable, and if you feel like you're lifting the shoulders up, if you feel like you're lifting the back of the head up off the floor, then maybe use a strap or something similar instead of the hands around the back of the left thigh. So we want the upper body to be quite relaxed. And while the arms are working to gently bring that left thigh back, they shouldn't be overly tense. We'll keep both feet active, so both toes gently pull back. Base of the spine stays down, so if you pull the base of the spine up off the floor, you lose that isolated stretch in the right glute, right hip. And then just tuck your chin in ever so slightly towards your chest so the back of the neck is long. So even in these lying postures, still trying to find length through the spine. And then just holding it here. Every exhale, maybe you can find a bit more room. Easing that leg back, otherwise don't worry about it. It's a very supported way to get into the right hip area, so a really good posture to do, especially if you get things like sciatica. Okay, a few more deep breaths here. You can deepen the posture if the right knee's okay by gently drawing the right knee down the mat as you ease the left thigh back. if your right elbow is pressing against your inner right thigh, you may be able to use it to gently push that leg back, just creating some resistance there. Okay, and then exhale, we'll release, but keep the legs in the position they're in. So now the left foot comes back to the floor, the right foot's where it is. We're going to bring this into a twist. So from here, let's cross our right knee on top of the left. So the right knee stacked directly on top of the left, like the legs are crossed. Then take your arms wide, palms down, so the arms come in a T position. Move your bum just a few inches over towards the right to give us some more space, and then big inhale, and then as you exhale, just let the legs fall over towards the left. And then gently turn your head and look over the right shoulder. So the first twist, a nice sort of a gentle line twist to warm the back up. You may also feel this pull into your right glute, top of the right leg, so that hip area. And the only thing we want to try and do is keep that right shoulder down. Everything else is super relaxed, so we're not forcing the legs to the floor. There is a little bit of work to keep the legs together, but nothing like too strong. We're not squeezing the thighs together and engaging the muscles. And then inhale back to centre, lovely, and then just uncross your legs and square your hips up. Give your bent legs a shake, and we're going to do exactly the same thing the other side. So right knee bent, right foot on the floor, cross your left foot over your right thigh. Again, you can stay here, still a really nice hip opener, or if you want a deeper stretch, you're going to pick the right foot up off the floor, hands or strap around the back of the right thigh. And then again, just remembering those action points. So chest is broad, shoulders roll back, neck is long, feet are active, and base of the spine stays down. Should feel this really sort of a quite intense stretch really in the left glute, opening up into the left hip. With every exhale, maybe easing the right thigh a little bit closer towards the belly if appropriate. And you may notice that one side feels a lot different to the other, so we usually have a tighter hip, a tighter glute. And part of yoga is just trying to balance that out, balance out right and left side. Being mindful of that left knee, and to deepen the posture if you want, you can draw the left knee down the mat. As you ease the right thigh back, maybe press the left elbow into the inner left thigh if it's making contact. If not, don't worry, but if it's there, maybe use it. Okay, and then we're just going to release. We're going to bring the right foot to the floor. We're going to bring it into that twist. So stacking the left knee on top of the right. Moving the hips over towards the left ever so slightly. Taking your arms out wide, palms down again. Big inhale, then exhale, legs very lazily fall over towards the right. Gently turning your head, looking over the left shoulder. And feeling that stretch, lower back, left glute, left hip. No effort, the sides keeping that left shoulder down. So if the left shoulder lifts, it means you've kind of flopped a bit too much over towards the right. Again, you lose that isolated stretch. So if the left shoulder's lifting, a couple of things you can do. You can bring the knees a little bit higher up towards centre, or you can make the left arm just a little bit stronger. Really pressing down through the left palm, trying to ground that shoulder. And then inhale, come back up to centre, uncross your legs, square your hips up, and we'll take another cat stretch. So pointing the toes down the mat, arms overhead, making yourself really long again. And then just to work the shoulders in this a little bit deeper, we'll keep the toes pointed, keep the length, but just take hold of the right wrist with the left hand, and then as you inhale, just see if you can pick up out of that right shoulder. So exaggerating that stretch down the right side body. And then exhale, release, and just take hold of the left wrist with the right hand. Inhale, pick up out of that left shoulder, maybe feeling a deeper stretch down the left side body now, keeping the toes pointed. Okay, and then release. Just take one last stretch here. Both arms up, both legs down the mat. And then exhale, hugging your knees into your chest, rocking from side to side and making circles. I think cat stretch might be my favourite. Cat stretching, cat-cow, which we are going to do next. But for now, making those circles. Back of the head on the floor, hands around the knees or the shins to make the rotations. Squeezing the thighs in towards the tummy as much as possible. And this is going to be quite important later when we come to Marichyasana C especially. And then when you're ready, you can just pop yourselves up into seated. All right, I'm just going to come over here. I have got coffee. I'm so pleased. I feel like we can have a coffee break. It's still quite early, isn't it? Cat-cows. So cat-cows, great posture. Love them. I'm going to do it specifically to warm the shoulders up and also to release that tension I was talking about in the lower spine. Because these postures are going to be forward folds, so come into all fours, fingers spread underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips, tops of the feet on the floor. And then as you inhale, let's lift the hips, lift the chest, look forward. So you come into a little back bend, you gently squeeze the shoulders together. And then as you exhale, round the back, chin to chest, push into the hands, and then you should feel that stretch come into shoulders across the upper back. So the whole of the long inhale lifts, the belly drops, you come into a back bend, and then the whole of the exhale rounds. Feel that wave through the spine, really pushing into the hands. And then just keep making this rotation, use your own breath. And the depth of the posture isn't really important, you just work to your maximum depth. So if your back muscles are a little bit tight, you might find it quite challenging, especially on the inhale. But doing your best. A few more rounds of this. Okay, and then at the end of your next exhale, just come to a flat back. And then from here, we are going to inhale, step our right foot to the outside of the right hand. Yes. So, it's quite important to keep that left knee under the hip. So there's a bit of a tendency for people to take their left knee back in this posture. It's a different posture. So sometimes we do take the left knee back, but for today, I really want you to keep the left knee underneath that hip. The hips are going to stay facing forward. The right knee is going to be somewhere over the ankle and the right leg's going to stay drawing in towards the midline, so don't let that right knee fall out. So everything is very sort of stable, set up properly. And then as you inhale, look forward, finding that length, and then exhale, turning the waist, raise the right hand, look up. So we're coming into an all-four twist. Really reaching the right fingertips as much as possible up towards the ceiling, so we stay quite light in the left hand. And as well as twisting into the back, opening up across the chest, we're working into the hip. So hopefully feeling some sensation top of the right leg. Eventually really seeing if we can rotate the chest as much as possible towards the right, and just make sure you can see your right hand so you've not flung that arm too far back. You don't need to have the right arm vertical. If you're not twisting as much, you can bring that hand a little bit lower. A few more moments here, just wherever you are, get that arm nice and strong and keep that upward lift in the posture. Okay, and then exhale, bring that hand down, lovely. So keeping the right foot forward, keeping the left knee underneath the hip, inhale, look forward again, and this time as you exhale, let's rotate, raise the left hand, look up. I can imagine all of your faces, mine too. So this is a totally different posture. Now you should feel this really quite intense stretch come into the inside of your right thigh, the groin area, just by raising the arm in a different direction. But the same points still apply. Lifting the left hand up, right hand light on the floor. Keeping the right leg drawing gently in towards the middle of the mat, and then keeping your hips square. So sometimes the hips tend to twist in this posture, You can actually take your left hand to your lower back to make sure they're still facing forward. Few more breaths. And then exhale, lower that hand down. It's mental, isn't it, how different the same posture can be with a very sort of different movement. Very weird. And then step back into all fours. No one likes the groiny side in that. Alright, we'll do the same sequence the other side. So on your inhale, step the left foot to the outside of your left hand and just make sure the right knee stays underneath the hip. We're not taking it back today. So as you inhale, look forward. And then to begin with the nice side, exhale, turn in the waist, left hand comes up. Reaching left arm up, so right hand's light on the floor. Opening the chest up towards the left as much as possible, making sure you can see your left hand. And then feeling that opening in the top of the left leg, that hip. Breath steady, so you can start to see why we want to move that breath up a little bit higher now. Really difficult to breathe into the belly in twists. And then exhale, bring that hand down. Here's the gnarly side. Inhale, look forward, and then exhale, turn in the waist, right hand comes up. Woo! Okay. So this side can also be a little bit wobbly. If it is a little bit wobbly, maybe you have the right knee too far towards the left foot, if that makes sense. So maybe the knee is behind the foot too much. You may need to take that knee a little bit further towards the outside of the mat. Reaching the right hand up, left hand light on the floor. Big old stretch into the inner left thigh, groin area. Just making sure the hips haven't twisted, so the hips stay facing forward. And you can always check by bringing a hand to your lower back, just to make sure they're lining up. And then exhale, bring that hand down. And then step back into all fours, and we're going to come into child's pose. If possible, feet and knees together. Bum towards heels and arms either side of the body, forehead to floor. Now if this isn't comfortable, you can leave your arms out in front. You can separate the knees a little bit, it doesn't really matter. Ideally taking the arms either side of the body though, because we're just going to bring a little shoulder stretch into this. So from this position, we're going to interlace the hands behind the back. Roll your shoulder blades together before you lift the hands away from the back, almost like you're trying to squish something between them. And then inhale, lifting the arms up towards the ceiling, palms together or apart, but keeping the bum drawing back towards the heels. Again, a bit of a tendency for the bum to lift up off the feet here. And you can do that in certain instances, but for today let's keep the bum drawing back so we get that lovely stretch in the lower back as we open across the chest into the shoulders. Don't worry if the arms only lift a little bit, just do your best, few more moments. And then exhale, release, let the hands flop either side of the body, shoulders just draw down towards the mat, no effort. And then inhale, pop yourselves back up. Whew. Into all fours. Fabulous, all right. So we're going to work with a little bit of a challenging twist now. So come into all fours. And from this all four position, just step your right foot forward and then come up to kneeling. All right, so make sure there's a decent gap between your right foot and your left knee. Otherwise, it's going to get really, really wobbly. So making sure the left knee stays under that hip again, and then making sure the right knee stays somewhere over that right ankle. I mean, it's not going to kill you if it comes forward or back a bit, but we're a bit focused on lines in yoga. So just seeing if we can keep it somewhere over that. And then to begin with, we're going to do this in 2 stages, or 4 stages. We're going to separate it into 2. So the first 2 are a twist and a fold. So from here, this position, again, we're going to see if we can keep the hips facing forward. We're going to take the right hand to the small of the back, and this is going to be our guide. We're going to take the left hand to just somewhere around this area, the right leg area, near the right knee. You're going to inhale, lift, and then you exhale, twisting around to the right. All right. It's quite a big twist already. I feel like these twists are quite challenging. So we're using the left hand against the right leg as a lever to help us rotate. So that arm can be a little bit strong. Got the right hand on the small of the back to make sure the hips stay facing forward. Opening the chest up towards the right and then gently rolling that right shoulder back and looking over that right shoulder. You can do what you want with the left hand. You can have palms away, or you can actually hold on to the leg, whatever's most comfortable. And then holding it here. So every inhale, trying to find some length, and then every exhale, just seeing if you can move into that space. Moving the breath up into the chest, twisting from the belly. Okay, you're more than welcome to stay here, or what we are going to try and do next, if you're up for it, is we're going to see if we can fold forward, keep the rotation, and then hook our left shoulder over our right leg, taking the hands into prayer. Alright, so either staying here, or from here, folding forward, hooking the left shoulder over the right leg, might take some wiggling, take the hands into prayer, and then stack the forearms. So the forearms aren't together, the elbows are stacked. And then look up gently towards the ceiling. So you can always have a look at me if that was a little bit confusing. And then really work the left shoulder into the right leg. So we're using that resistance to open the chest up towards the right. Take your right hand quickly to your lower back. Make sure your hips haven't veered off. It's really difficult to tell, but we want the hips to stay facing forward. Deep breaths, holding it here for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Look down, lovely. Untangle, just take your feet, hands, feet, take your hands to the floor and step back into all fours and maybe give your hips a little bit of a wiggle. So you definitely feel it in your hips. I know there's a lot going on, but these are all hip openers. So we'll do the same thing the other side. So as you inhale, step your left foot forward. Come up to kneeling. Making sure the right knee is underneath that hip, making sure that you've got a fair distance between the foot and the back knee so you don't go too wonky. And we'll start with the gentler sort of twist, and you can stay there if you don't want to hook the shoulder. So to begin with, really important to set the foundations up. So sometimes people rush through this and they're so desperate to get the shoulder over the leg that they forget this is the most important part, is that initial twist. So this is the most important part of the posture. So taking your left hand to your lower back, taking your right hand anywhere up that leg around the left knee area, palm away or holding onto the leg. You inhale, lift, you exhale, twist. Opening the chest up towards the left this time, rolling the left shoulder back, looking back over that shoulder. Every inhale finding some length, and every exhale moving into that space. Again, one side might be a bit different, so just roll with it. And then you're more than welcome to stay here. Or if you want to give it a go, still going to see if we can keep these hips facing forward. You're going to fold forward, take your right shoulder this time over your left leg, take your hands into prayer, forearms stacked. So the elbows are stacked right on top, one on top of the other, and then use the right shoulder against the left leg to open the chest towards the left. Breath steady, hips square, holding it here for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Lovely. Exhale, look down, take your hands to the floor, step back into all fours, and from here we're going to come into a wide child's pose this time. So feet together, knees as wide as the mat. Sink your bum down towards your heels. Get your bum and your heels as close together as possible before you lay the body down, so that we can get that lovely stretch in the lower back. You can come chin and chest as long as the chest bone hits the floor. Your forehead does not have to touch the floor. If it's really uncomfortable, you can stay upright as well. So just finding a child's pose that's comfortable for you. And then inhale, make your way back up into all fours. Lovely. So we are going to see, maybe, if we can take it one step further. So just grab yourself a drink or some coffee, and then just watch me for a second, because I just want to say something about this posture. So we're going to work through the same stages, all right? And we're going to come back into the hook-in shoulder stage here. So the next part of this posture is maybe we drop the hand to the outside of the foot. What I want you to get away from thinking is that this is like super, super important. What happens sometimes is people are happily in prayer, they go to drop the hand, they either stay here with the hand not on the floor, or it pings off and they end up putting the hand in front of the foot or the hand on the inside of the foot. It's pointless, because we're doing this posture for that twist. So much, much better to keep the shoulder over the leg and keep the elbows stacked, hands in prayer, and get that lovely rotation than it is to have the hand ping off the leg and lose the twist, all right? So don't get too caught up on being able to drop the hand. But if you are there, you drop the hand to the outside of the foot. The hand has to be on the outside of the foot. The shoulder has to be on the outside of the leg for this to do what we want it to do. And then you're going to raise the arm, you're going to look up, okay? That's only if you're there, otherwise you stay in prayer. Now, regardless of whether you've got the arm up or you have the hand in prayer, we can all try the second step. If your shoulder allows you, you're going to roll the arm underneath the leg. You're going to raise the arm up and you're going to wrap it round and catch a bind, which means you're taking hold of your fingers or you're taking hold of your wrists, and then you use the bind to open the chest up. Or you can stay there, you can stay there. So you've got a lot of options. Again, you can try the bind regardless of whether the hand is on the floor in prayer. So you can all give that a go, but only drop the hand, like I said, if the shoulder's able to stay over the leg, otherwise it's pointless. So come into all fours. As you inhale, step your right foot forward, come up to kneeling. So set the posture up, have your left knee underneath that left hip, right knee somewhere over that ankle, hips are going to stay facing square throughout this whole thing. Take your right hand to your lower back, take your left hand above your right knee, you inhale, lift, you exhale, twist. Really important to get as much twist here. This is the most important step of this whole thing. So the inhale lifts, the exhale, you move into that space, really rotating as much as possible. Before you exhale, fold, and see if you can hook the left shoulder over the right leg. Everyone take their hands into prayer to begin with. Forearms stacked, elbows on top of one another, and then use that left shoulder against the right leg to open the chest up towards the right. Gently looking up towards the ceiling. Hips stay facing square to the front of the mat. All right, so staying here, or if you have the room, dropping the hand to the outside of the foot. As long as the shoulder stays over that leg. If you find the shoulder pings off, hands back to prayer. Otherwise you lose that rotation. But if the hand is to the outside of the foot, you can raise your arm, you can look up. Now, regardless of whether the hand's down or the hands are in prayer, we can all try this step, the bind. So, see if you can roll your left arm underneath the right leg. So it's a little bit awkward. Raise the right arm up. See if you can wrap the arm around the back and catch hold of the left hand or the fingers. If you're not there, just come back to whichever variation you're comfortable-ish in. If you've got the bind, use the bind to open the chest up further, look up. Wherever you are, steady breath for 5, 4, 3, you can come up to standing from here, but we're not going to do that today, 2, and 1, release. It's gnarly enough as it is, and then take the hands to the floor, and then step back into all fours. Definitely, like, I don't know about you, but I 100%, you do get it right in that hip, that right hip, that side. So let's try the same thing the other side. So all fours, step forward with your left foot, come up to kneeling. Making sure that right knee is underneath that hip. Making sure you've not come too close with the foot and the knee, and then take your left hand to the small of your back, right hand above the knee. You inhale, lift, you exhale, twist, and trying to really set this foundation up, opening the chest as much as possible to the left side of the mat. And then once you've found your depth, you can exhale, fold forward, take the right shoulder across the left knee, and then take your hands into prayer, forearms stacked, elbows on top of one another, and then use the right shoulder against the leg to get as much rotation as you can. So it's a lot of resistance between the leg and the arm here. Making sure the hips haven't veered off to one side. Staying here, or if you have the room, drop in your left hand to the outside of the foot. Not the inside, the outside. And then maybe raising the left hand up. If your shoulder pings off the leg, forget about it, not important, come back to prayer. Really just trying to get that arm with like good contact against the leg to help this twist. And regardless of whether you've got the hand down or you're in prayer, you can give this a go if you like. You wrap the right arm underneath the left leg. You inhale, lift the left arm up, and you exhale, take it round, see if you can take hold of the bind. If you have the bind, you use it to open that left shoulder, open the chest up towards the left. Deep, slow breathing wherever you are for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Look down. Hands can come to the floor. Step back into all fours. And again, come into that wide child's pose. So feet together, knees as wide as the mat. Gently sitting your bum towards the heels and then lowering the body down towards the mat and having a little bit of a breather. Okay, so holding it here. Great hip openers, great shoulder openers. Okay, lovely. And then as you inhale, just pop yourselves back up into all fours. And from here, we're going to come into downward dog. So hands underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips, tuck your toes, send your hips up and back, and then come into downward dog. So we haven't done much with the hamstrings today, so feel free to pedal the legs out. We will be doing a couple of folds in a minute. So just slowly pedaling one heel down towards the floor, then the other. The heels do not have to hit the floor, and the legs don't have to be straight either. So bending the knees is absolutely fine. We're more concerned with getting that nice line that I keep talking about, all these lines, from the hands up the arms, shooting out the back of the hips. So eventually trying to create like a 90-degree angle with the body. Keeping the head really relaxed, so the head just drops down between the arms, no tension in the neck. And then making this pedaling slow, controlled, using your breath to guide the movement, so not speed pedaling. Okay, lovely. And then just stop doing that, and we're going to make our way up to standing. So your choice, you can step, jump, walk your feet between your hands, look forward. Exhale, drop the head. And then inhale, swooping the arms up, looking up. And then exhale, arms by your side. We made it to standing. I always get so excited when we make it to standing. So give your legs a little shake. Give your shoulders a little shake. We're nearly there, doing a great job. I just want to do a forward fold, and then I want to do a twist and maybe another bind, and then we'll crack on with these postures. So this forward fold, ragdoll. So it gives you an idea of how relaxed we want the upper body to be. You can bend your knees as much as you need to in this. The legs do not have to be straight. In fact, better to bend the knees and have the back relatively flat than it is to have the legs straight and have an over curve in the back. So just be mindful. So feet hip width apart and parallel, hands to hips. As you inhale, lift the chest, look up, and then exhale, fold forward, bending the knees as much as you need to, coming down, taking hold of your own elbows. Inhale, look forward again before you come in your fold, find that space. And now exhale, fold, come into the posture, the body doesn't lift now after that first inhale. Head is heavy, and my hamstrings are so tight. So if your hamstrings are as tight as mine, you might want to bend the knees a bit more. My legs are shaking. But letting the shoulder, why are my legs shaking so much is mental. This lockdown's got us all a little bit like tin men. Maybe just me, but I don't think so. So letting the head be super heavy, letting the shoulders fall towards the floor, letting the shoulders really come up by the ears. You can sway a little bit. Why are my legs shaking so much? You can sway a little bit. I think I might have to come up to standing. And if your legs are shaking, just roll with it. Doing a great job. So, but if this all feels hamstrings, just bend the knees a little bit more, and then you're going to feel that tension release in your lower back. Ooh, I bowed out of that one. You're doing a much better job than me. So staying in this fold. Nice relaxed upper body. You can sway from side to side if you want to. Feeling the tension release in your back of the legs, and also feeling that tension release in your lower back. Few more breaths here. Lovely, and then inhale, look forward. Then exhale, hands to hips, and then as you inhale with shaky elbows, legs come up to standing. And then exhale, step your feet together. Fabulous, all right. So, I feel like my camera might be slipping a little bit, but it's okay because we're coming down to seated anyway. There's just one last thing I want to do. So feet together at the front of your mat. On your inhale, we're going to take a bigger step out with our right foot. So turn your left toes in about 45 degrees. Turn your right foot out about 90. And then bend your right knee so it's over the ankle. The hips are going to stay square as possible to the long side of the mat. And then sink down quite deep into this posture so we start to open up into that right hip. Arms wide, inhale here, then exhale, fold to the right, and see if you can place your right hand to the inside of the right foot this time. Deep bend in the right knee, getting that right thigh as parallel as possible. And then it is a really huge hip opener. Now if you cannot take your hand to the inside of the foot, you can stay upright and place your right forearm on the right thigh, okay, and come into this shape instead. Now from here, as you inhale, just raise your left hand up towards the ceiling. Nice, slow, steady breaths. Okay, so if your forearm is on the thigh, you're just going to stay here and come out of the posture whenever it gets a little bit too much. Otherwise, if your hand's on the floor, look down. Place your left hand where your right hand is. And then inhale, turn in the waist, raise the right hand, look up. Woo! So opening up into that right hip, really reaching the right fingertips up towards the ceiling, opening the chest up towards the side of the room. Big old hip opener, big old twist, few more breaths. And then exhale, bring that right hand down, and then raise the left arm up towards the ceiling again. And you've got it, there is a bind in this. So, to have a go at the bind, see if you can wrap your right arm underneath your right leg. Inhale, left arm up, exhale, wrap it round. See if you can hold fingertips, wrists, hands, my hips. And then release the bind, hands to floor, kick yourself back up. Wow. And then we'll change sides. I'm in it with you. I'm suffering with you. Let's change the side. So right foot in, left foot 90 degrees. Bending the left knee so it's over that ankle, trying to get that left thigh as parallel as possible so it's quite a deep sink in the hips. Arms wide. We can do this. Inhale here. Exhale, fold. Left hand to the inside of the foot, or you can place the forearm to the thigh if the hand is not coming down yet. Right arm up. Really strong right arms. Breath steady. Inhale and then exhale. Drop the right hand to where the left hand is. Inhale, left arm up, look up, coming into that twist. Still sinking deep down into the legs. Okay, and then exhale, bring that hand down, right arm up. And then maybe having a go at the bind, wrapping the left arm underneath the leg. Right fingertips up, back, see if you can catch your hand, your wrist, your fingertips. Use the bind to open the right shoulder up, still sinking deeply into the left hip. And then exhale, release, hands to floor, come back up. Woo! Come to the front of your mat. Wow. Give your legs a shake. Tin men, absolutely, indeed. Have a drink if you want a drink. And then we're going to make our way through a sun salutation into seated. So legs together at the front of your mat. Lift your shoulders, allow them to fall back, head slightly tilted forward. Just taking a couple of deep breaths here, settling in. Hopefully feeling that release in the shoulders after all the binds we've done in the hips. Okay, and then as you inhale, sweep your arms up, look up. Exhale, fold, hands to floor, drop the head. Inhale, look forward, lengthen. Then exhale, step or jump back to plank, lower to low, press up or the floor, your choice. Inhale, a back bend, shoulders back. Exhale, downward dog. And then from downward dog, either practicing your jump throughs, coming down, or stepping or collapsing into seated. Lovely. And then just come onto your backs, hug your knees into your chest for a second. I'm doing this because I need to do it. I'm like pretending. This is like, oh, we're just having a rest. This is because I need to do this. Just need a moment. You're not alone. Like if you are feeling a lot tighter, a lot stiffer, a lot less motivated to do stuff, you aren't alone, honestly. I feel like we are all probably in a bit of that headspace, regardless of what we see on Instagram or Facebook of people smashing quarantine. It's pretty much all a lie. Like we all are feeling a little bit stiffer. And in yoga, what I want you to not worry about so much is a lot of people worry about progress being lost. Like it's not important. Like maybe we get a bit stiffer, but the body remembers. And the body will pick things up quickly. So if you're worried about losing things, losing postures, don't. It's not important in the grand scheme of things. We'll have loads of fun when we're back in the classroom. That being said, let's give it a pep talk. Another pep talk. I just quickly want to do a forward fold, and then we're going to have a look at these postures. So starting in Dandasana, legs together, toes draw back, hands either side of the hips. Now we'll come into Dandasana first because every single posture in the seated sequence starts from this position here. So gently drawing the shoulders back, spinning the elbows in, dropping the chin towards the chest, and then imagining we're sitting up against a wall. So it's actually a very strong posture, although it doesn't look like much. Again, the Elvis legs are back. Okay, and then from here, we're going to reach forward and see if we can take hold of our big toes first, 2 fingers and thumbs. Now to do this, you may need to bend the legs. Absolutely fine, go ahead and bend the legs. And then inhale, straighten the arms, chest lifts up, hamstrings. And then exhale, folding forward, just as far as the body wants, okay? It doesn't have to be far, bend the knees if you need to. letting the elbows come out to the side, shoulders draw back towards the waist, a big old posture for your lower back as well. Really feeling this stretch calf, hamstring, glute into the lower back, that whole sort of posterior chain. A few more moments here, letting the head relax. And then inhale, look forward. And then exhale, release. Give your legs a shake. All right, here we go. Have some coffee. Marichyasana A, B, C. Tricky postures, very complicated. But all the work we've done today has been to prepare the body, to open up into the hips, to open up into the shoulders, a few forward folds, a lot of twists to release the lower back. So these are the kind of things you want to be doing to work with these postures. Now we'll start with Marichyasana A. I will do a demonstration and a bit of a talk through before we do each one. So just watch me, have a rest, watch me for a second. So with Marichyasana A, to begin with, every posture starts from Dandasana, this seated position. And with this one, we want to bring the right foot back. First things first, right foot comes back towards the outside of the right hip. You need a gap between the right foot and the leg because we are going to try and fold into this gap. So if you bring your foot too close, you can't fold forward. So making sure that foot is to the outside of the hip, and then it's like a half sitting, half standing posture. Your right bum cheek is off the floor in this posture, so don't think that you need to have both bum cheeks down. You don't, it's actually lifting. So the butt cheek will lift. And this is the positioning we need the legs in. Now, there is a fold forward. We're folding into that space we've created. So for the fold, you place your opposite hand on the floor, fingers facing back. This is going to help you propel forward. So you press the hand on the floor to fold the body into that space, all right? So that's the next thing. Now from here, there's the bind. When you come into your bind, you need to reach diagonally across. If you reach forward, I mean, it's just less space. Reach diagonally, because we're going to have to take the shoulder back anyway. So you propel yourself into this fold. You diagonally stretch the arm forward, almost like someone's holding the arm. And then you need to roll your shoulder forward. That movement I talked about earlier. Roll your shoulder forward so you can bend the elbow backwards around the shin. You may stay here, okay? This might be where you want to work with the hand on the floor for support. Or you pick the hand off the floor and you can take hold of the bind. If you have the bind, you inhale, lift, you exhale, fold, bringing your nose towards your knee. Remember, the right bum cheek is off the floor. You can actually use a strap. If you have a strap and you're struggling with the bind, you can have a strap in your hands and see if you can do it that way, but not necessary really, it's just if you want to do that. Right, let's give it a go. So from Dandasana, let's draw our right foot to the outside of the right hip. Remember, there's the gap between the foot and the leg, so we can fold into it, and your right bum cheek will lift off the floor in this, don't worry about it. Left hand behind the back, left fingertips face back. Inhale, lift, exhale, propel yourself forward, all right? Reach your right arm out diagonally. Roll your right shoulder forward, see if you can wrap it round the right shin. Staying here, or left hand comes up off the floor to catch the bind. You inhale, lift, you exhale, fold. Holding it here for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. You inhale, look up, and you exhale, release. Let's try the other side. Back in Dandasana. Left foot to the outside of the left hip, making sure that there is a good gap between the foot and the leg so you can fold into it. Right arm on the floor behind you. Inhale, exhale, push into the right hand, propel yourself forward. Reach your left arm out diagonally first, then roll the left shoulder forward, see if you can wrap it round that shin. Your right hand comes off the floor to catch the bind. You inhale, lift, you exhale, fold. Your left hip bone is up off the floor for 5, 4, 3, And 1, you inhale, look forward, and you exhale, release, and then give your legs a shake. Alright, so everyone has, there's no point me saying, oh, that's the easiest one of them, because everyone finds certain things difficult and not. I think Marichyasana, for me, in my opinion, for my body, is probably the most accessible out of the 4 we do in the primary series, but could very well be different for you. B. B is a lot trickier. Watch me for a moment. It involves the same fold, it involves the same movement with the shoulder rolling forward, catching the bind, but the legs are in a really sort of gnarly position. It asks a lot of the hips. So I'll show you what it looks like, then I'll give you an option. So starting in Dandasana, for B, the first side, we have to take the left foot into half lotus, which is crossing the left foot over the top of the right thigh. Now from here, we take the hands behind the back. And then we have to bring the right foot again to the outside of the right hip. So already this is a really big ask of the left knee, of the left hip. And to come into the posture, you have to then move the weight forward and see if you can place the left thigh on the floor and have the balance. So the left foot is in half lotus. The right foot's come back to the outside of the hip. You move forward to swing the top of the left thigh on the floor, and this is the starting position with the legs. Then the same with A, you would take your hands on the floor, propel yourself forward, wrap the shoulder back around the shin, and then bind. You inhale and exhale, fold. Now, because this is such a big ask of the hips, your option, instead of having the foot in half lotus, you take the foot underneath the leg. So that way you still have the top of the thigh on the floor, or the thigh on the floor, but you don't need to have the foot in that half lotus position. You can still practice the bind. All right, so we'll try this together. Please be mindful of your knees. So come into Dandasana. And then what we are going to do, first size, we are going to take the left foot into half lotus, which involves us bringing the left foot high up the right thigh, bringing the left heel in towards the belly. And already, if this is starting to feel a little bit uncomfortable for your knee, think about the modification for this. Hands behind you, and then bring the right foot back towards the right hip. At this point is where, if this movement isn't happening, you need to take the left foot now and place it underneath the leg, okay? So do that now if that's not working for you. Otherwise, you bring the weight forward and you swing the left thigh onto the floor. So you either have your foot in half lotus or the left foot underneath the leg, and we'll all work on the bind. So your left hand is now behind the back, fingers face back. Reach forward with your right hand, wrap the right shoulder forward, around the shin, bind, inhale, lift, exhale, fold. And then holding it here. So if you are in half lotus, eventually that left knee faces forward. Again, your right butt cheek will lift up off the floor, pressing down through that right foot. Letting the head relax and just feeling that really huge opening in the left hip now. A few more moments. And then inhale, come up. And then exhale, release, untangle, straighten your legs and give your legs a shake. We'll try the same thing the other side. So from Dandasana, this time we place our right foot into half lotus. And you may find that one side you're able to do this, and the other side maybe you need a modification. Again, hips can be wildly different between right and left side. So right foot's in half lotus, which involves the right heel coming right up towards the belly. And then be mindful, taking the left foot this time to the left hip. This is the part of the class where my language goes. And then moving the weight forward, swinging that right thigh down onto the floor. Now if that movement's not happening, your option, right foot comes underneath the left leg instead. Now placing the right hand on the floor, fingers face back, push into that right hand, reach diagonally forward, left shoulder rolls forward, wrap it round the shin, maybe take the bind. Inhale here, then exhale, fold. Let the head be heavy. Wherever you are is perfect. The modification is really great for this. Like, this is a big ask of the hips. A few more moments. Eventually right knee faces forward. And then inhale up. And then exhale, untangle and give your legs a shake. Right. I'm going to run over by 5 minutes. I was just looking at the clock like, oh, here we go again. We've got one more to do. So that was A and B. That's why I personally think A is just a little bit more accessible in my opinion, because the having the foot in half lotus and bringing it back like that is a lot more strenuous for the hips. And if your hips are tight, one thing that happens often is it pulls into the knees. So you do need to be mindful. Now, C is probably my least favourite. For me, again, probably going to be very different for everyone else. So C is my least favourite. It's a massive twist. And I actually prefer D to C, and we're not even doing D today. And D actually puts B and C together. So it's definitely quite fun to have a look at after this. But I'll show you C. So C starts in Dandasana. This time you bring your right foot forward, back, forward towards your body. You bring your right foot back. And we do not want a gap this time between the foot and the leg. Okay, so again, right bum cheek will lift up off the floor a little bit. That's not a problem. It might be down. Mine lifts a little bit. I don't really know if it's supposed to or not, but I'm going to say fine. That's the beauty of it. Everyone's body's different, okay? We just want to try and get that right foot back, right foot close to the leg. Now with C, you need to place your right hand on the floor behind you this side. First step is to just hug the leg in with the left hand. You have to sit up nice and tall. This is quite important. It's going to be really hard to catch the bind if you're sinking down. So lifting, you can use the right hand on the floor to support the posture, rolling the right shoulder back, and this is step number 1. Good place to be. Now, if you have enough twist, what you need to do is you need to, just like we were doing before actually, hook that left shoulder over the right leg, and then you can take your hand into like this 90-degree angle, palm facing away, and then really work that left shoulder against the knee to see if you can find a bit more twist. You can already see by my pained expression on my face that this is not the fave. Right, and then the bind. So the bind is a bit tricky here. What you need to do is, if you have the shoulder over the knee, and if you don't have the shoulder over the knee, you're not going to be able to do this today. So it's this contact between the arm and the leg that makes this possible. What you do is you roll your right shoulder forward. This is really tricky. The right shoulder rolls forward, you wrap it around the shin. Yes, C. And then you don't have to catch the bind. You can leave your hand hanging out near the top of your left thigh, or the hand comes off the floor, you catch the bind. And then you need to try and sit up straight. I mean, I'm still working on C, so I'm right here with you. It's a tricky posture, but there's lots of stages, and we'll give it a go now together. We're all marvellous works in progress. So, legs straight in Dandasana. From here, we're going to take the right foot back. Forward, back. And this time, we don't want a gap between the right foot and the leg, so we're just really trying to draw that thigh in towards the belly. Extended leg, I shouldn't have to say, it always stays active, toes always stay back. And then first we'll work the little twist. It's actually really nice, the first stage of this. So we'll take the right hand behind the back for support. We'll take the left hand onto the right thigh, just hug that leg in towards the body. Use the right hand on the floor to support yourself, and then open the chest as much as possible up towards the right. Gently turning, looking over that right shoulder. Taking a few breaths here, staying here, or if you have the room, hook in your left shoulder over the right leg, palm faces away, and then really working that arm into the leg. I know I'm grimacing to get as much twist as you can. I'm a yoga teacher, I shouldn't have favourites, but whatever. And then from here, if you have the shoulder over the leg, if you have good contact, you roll the left shoulder forward, wrap it round the shin, holding it here, or maybe taking your right hand off the floor, catching the bind. And then release. I didn't hold that for very long, but that's the technique. That's what you do, and you can practice it on your own if you're crazy. And we'll do the other side. I'm very conscious that I ran over time again. So right leg straight, left foot in. Last one, then we'll come down. And then left hand behind the back, hugging the left leg in towards the body, twisting the chest open towards the left. Maybe if you have enough rotation here, if you're feeling comfortable, hooking the right shoulder over the left thigh, palms facing away. Sitting up as tall as you can is going to be really helpful here. Once you've found your sort of maximum depth of rotation, you need to roll that right shoulder forward, wrap it round the shin. Holding it here if you have the balance. Left hand off the floor, right leg down. And then working this bind. And then release. Marvellous. Right, fabulous. Come down onto the floor, hug your knees into your chest. Tricky posture. See, do you know what was really weird about yoga is that postures come and go. They're very sort of like transitory, so you don't have them forever. So C was something that I used to not have a problem with at all. I just found it quite, I suppose, easy. And I actually really enjoyed it. Actually, I struggled more with B than I did C. And then for some reason, probably in the last 6 months, C has been my nemesis. So it's just really interesting to note as you go through this journey that you will not keep postures. There will be postures that come and go. You may be able to do it one day. You might not be able to do it 6 months later. It's all very weird. So that being said, let's come and lie down. Legs straight, arms a little way away from the body, and just have a relax here. I won't keep you here for too long, just for a minute so you can let that breath come back to normal. So big steady, big sort of like steady breaths to begin with. Maybe inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth, let it all out, and then after you've slowed the breath down, then let the breath come back to normal. Okay, and you're more than welcome to stay in Shavasana for a little bit longer. I've kept you here long enough. So stay in Shavasana. I do recommend it for a couple more minutes. I'm going to end this video. Thank you so much for joining me. And ABC, super challenging postures, but with enough practice, hopefully we'll all get there. Have a lovely rest of your day. And I will see you sometime, hopefully, throughout the next of the week. I'm just doing my hair in the, in the camera. Right, I'm off. Thank you so much. And I'll see you later. Ooh, finish. Wow.